Do you have a will? Do you have a trust? Do you know or have you told anybody or written down anywhere what you want to happen with all your stuff and what happens if you ever get sick? Hey, I'm Jay Lieberman. Welcome into the Real Estate Minute Show and Lieberman Realty Group. Now, we talk about wealth building here. We talk about real estate, buying and selling properties, etc. But one thing we haven't talked about yet, and that is how do you protect your assets? Now, I'm not an estate planning attorney, so I can't really offer you that kind of advice. But I am going to tell you what I do, okay? And don't take this as any sort of advice. Check with your own people. But I do have recommendations or referrals for you if you do decide that you want to use somebody specifically in California to help you with this. So there's three main documents. Let's start with the will real quick, okay? The will just talks about you're alive, what happens when you die, and where does everything go, okay? Generally, if you have a trust, that will is going to toss everything over to the trust. So you're going to start now talking about the trust. A trust document is, and a living trust means you can change it any way you want during the course of your life. That is going to lay out very specifically what assets go into that trust, which is going to be everything mostly, and where it's going to go upon your death. Now, the third component is a powers of attorney, and that could be composed of a bunch of different powers of attorney, specific ones to do specific things. Now, the powers of attorney gives them the right to do and sign on your behalf following your incapacity, disability, or death. Now, the two most important powers of attorney are just the general power of attorney to transfer assets and stuff upon your death. The second is a durable power of attorney or medical care, okay? And that is, what do you want your surviving spouse or whoever to do if you are in the need of medical care? The pull the plug situation, which I hate to say that, but that's obviously the most common use of it, okay? Those are really the three documents. Now, why set up a trust? Why go through the hassle, cost, and expense to do it? Because it ranges anywhere between a couple $1,000 to sky's the limit, okay? I personally paid about $4,000 to get my whole package together, and I update it regularly. There's really three main benefits. There's a lot of benefits, but there's three main benefits that I looked at that were important to me, okay? The first is privacy. This is not a public document. Nobody in the world is going to know about this document except for you, the parties in it, and your attorney, okay? That's it. It's not going to public. If you didn't have a trust, it would all be public in the probate court. Everything is public, okay? Everyone can see what you have, who's getting what, the whole smack. And a lot of times the probate court is open to the public as well, okay? Major issue for me, I just don't like people knowing my stuff, okay? The second is protecting your assets. You're protecting your assets during life and also after death, okay? It allows you to maneuver where you want them. You could change it regularly. Something happens, you have another child, add a child as a beneficiary. If you have a bad boy child, you want to take them out, you can take them out. All kinds of different things to protect and maneuver your assets and the disposition of them, okay? And the third, as I kind of mentioned, tied to the first, with the privacy, is it avoids probate. If you have a trust, there's no probate, it's not public. You don't need to go through the cost and expense of going to court to deal with the distribution and management of your estate when you pass. And that is a massive cost, all right? It's a gigantic cost, and it's a gigantic period of time that it takes for this to get resolved, specifically in California, if you're watching this, because I'm a California broker and California attorney. Those are really the main purposes. That's why I set up a trust. There's all kinds of other ancillary documents. Now, what is the hassle of doing it? One I mentioned is the cost, okay? There is an initial cost to it. There is a cost to update it periodically if you choose to. I revisit my trust once a year and I look at it. I see if I need to make any changes or not. The trust documents also where you lay out the intent of everything that you want, who you want the watches to go to, who you want the coins to go to, all of that stuff, where you want to be cremated and sprinkled along the bulbs of tulips in the middle of Ireland. I mean, whatever it is, that's where you put it. And that's not public information when it's in a trust. So in addition to the initial cost of setting it up is the initial setup of the trust. You have to take all of your assets and you have to put them into the trust. That includes all bank accounts need to be renamed in the name of the trust. All of the cash accounts, stock accounts, mutual fund accounts. Anything that has other value like real estate holdings. All that you need to transfer deeds from your person, you and your wife, over to the name of the trust. You and your partner over to the name of the trust. That's how all that. That's just initial setup, and the attorney that you use can help you with some of the legality of that. There's a few other forms you got to do. Once the initial stuff is done, you're done, and it's completely worth the protection. Highly recommended here in the wealth building and legacy building real estate arena that we have here at the Real Estate Minute Show. If you have any questions or you want a couple referrals of a couple attorneys that I know and have used in California specifically, just give me a shout. We'll see you next week.